What's this? That would be Captain Kirk from the starship USS Enterprise. And isn't that a Gorn, that reptilian humanoid species that show up in some of the old episodes? Well done, all you Star Trek connoisseur. 10 points. So why am I showing this image, you may ask? Well, I want to make a little thought experiment. Let's say that you're Captain Kirk and you're now a captive. The Gorn put a collar on you and a leash. And he's now calling you the Gorn's best friend. And you live together in his dwelling, mostly having a really good time. He feeds you, he bathes you, and cuts your fingernails. But he communicates telepathically and with some high-pitched noises that you don't understand. And he has some really weird habits. And he gets really angry and pushes your head into the toilet for no reason sometimes. There's a culture clash between you, Captain Kirk, and the Gorn. Now, I'm not sure whether it was this Star Trek version of a Gorn that Jean Donaldson had in mind when she created her famous short story describing how it would be for humans to be the Gorns' pet. I'm linking to it below. That tale brilliantly puts the spotlight on the fact that our beloved animals belong to a different species and that there's a culture clash between our human culture and the dog culture, or the horse culture, or the parrot culture. And more often than not, we're blind to this clash. To the human, reaching a hand towards a dog is a friendly gesture. To the dog, it may be interpreted as a threat. Again, a culture clash, a case of dangerous anthropomorphism, assuming that the animal perceives and responds to the world the same way that we humans do. Another culture clash. In the dog culture, biting is not such a big deal. It's often taken in stride. Relationships are not necessarily fractured because of biting. Biting is a natural behavior. It's not being vicious. In human culture, relationships are broken by bites. Biting a human may very well get the dog killed. We're predisposed to seeing the similarities, not the differences. We'll say things like the dog's mental abilities are about the same as a 2-year-old child. When in fact, his mental abilities are beyond any living human, at least when it comes to olfactory capabilities. The point I'm making is not about who wins this competition or how human-like dogs are in different arenas. It's that we're different species and that there is a culture clash. And we have to actively help our animals learn to live with us weird humans. And of course, the culture clash isn't just with dogs. Take cats' greeting behavior, for instance. They'll walk up to us, tail up, blinking and making those trilling or chirruping noises, and they sit next to us, or they flop over on the side, and we mistake this greeting as an invitation for physical contact. And we start petting, often oblivious to the cat's sign of disapproval. For me, personally, this is something I struggle with my cat, Oscar. He loves to be close to me, but only wants really short cuddles, a couple of seconds. And I have to really inhibit my impulse to smooch him. Some of the animals that we have living with us are like fish out of water, completely out of their element. Extra points if you can correctly name the Pokemon. Not only is it a complete culture clash in that we have completely different cultures, languages, and points of reference, but Captain Kirk would perhaps maybe be better off with a spacesuit on to protect him from the toxic atmosphere on planet Gorn. I'm getting at the fact that most of the artificial selection or breed development of domesticated animals occurred when we were either hunter-gatherers or farmers. A timeline. 40,000 years, back when we were hunter-gatherers, which our ancestors had been for millennia, we started domesticating wolves somewhere around here, maybe even later. Domestication means that we humans select who gets to breed with whom. It's not natural selection, it's artificial selection, meaning it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most sociable, friendly, and useful. And about 8,000 years ago, we started domesticating horses. And at this point, we had discovered farming. The agricultural revolution was underway, a complete change of lifestyle. And about 280 years ago, the first industrial revolution started changing the fabric of society yet again. And look, on the big scale of history of domestication, that is just a sliver of time. So we need to zoom in to look at the Industrial Revolution more closely. Now, I'm not that well read on what happened when during the domestication processes, but essentially, as time went by, wolves had started differentiating into different dog breeds, bred for specific and different purposes: scent hounds, sight hounds, herding dogs, terriers, gun dogs, guardians, toy dogs, and bulldogs being the main types, apart from the natural dog that retains many wild traits to this day. What I'm getting to is that through artificial selection, we changed those wolves into a number of different working breeds with propensities for different behaviors, different purposes. And human life continues changing. Most of us aren't factory workers today. Whatever we might call this new era we're in, human society is changing, and we're bringing our animals along for the ride. It's just that they're not keeping up that well. Because remember, we're doing artificial selection, and we no longer select for usefulness as much as we used to in the last couple of 1,000 years. In fact, I've heard Sue Sternberg say that because in some countries we're neutering all the healthy and sound dogs, good dogs are becoming extinct. And we have an epidemic of trouble dogs overflowing animal shelters. Apparently, severely aggressive dogs are a much larger fraction of the shelter dog population today than a couple of decades ago. There's 3 points I'm making with this. 1, we're living in a society to which our domesticated animals have not been adapted. And 2, our neutering and breeding policies is exacerbating the problem in some countries. And 3, we're pathologizing normal. The animals are still behaving the way we originally intended, the way they're genetically predisposed to behave, but those behaviors don't fit in with our modern lifestyle and expectations. They're not adapted to constrained captivity. As late as in the 1970s, dogs were still roaming free in many parts of the world where today they're locked up. So pet life has changed massively in the last 100 years. And genetics hasn't been able to keep up with that. So as part of prevention, I think we should really consider whether the dog breed that we're contemplating for our next dog or advising our clients to get, whether that breed truly is well adapted to the lifestyle that he's going to lead. Listen to ethologist Kim Brophy discuss this with Michael Shikashio in the podcast I'm sharing below. So many companion animals are like square pegs in a round hole. There's a mismatch between their evolved genetical predispositions and the modern environment and lifestyle we expect them to just deal with. We somehow expect a working dog to be happy confined in a crate 10 hours a day. Then there's the village dog and the pet dog. We tend to think that we're doing village dogs a service when we rescue them and bring them into our homes. But actually, recent research suggests that in some ways, companion dogs experience poor welfare compared to village dogs. And of course, in some respects, the opposite is also true. But that transition from being self reliant and roaming a village with your buddies to being alone and confined to a human home and having your behavior micromanaged can be, well, traumatic. So I would think twice before assuming that just because the dog has no formal owner, he is suffering and must be rescued. I'm sharing a link to a recent documentary showing the life of stray dogs in Turkey below.